What if I told you that the Pokemon cards sitting in your closet and the binder that you've had since you were a kid are now the target of armed gangs and planned heists? That selling them has gotten so risky that federal agents are stepping in, treating some of these robberies not as simple break-ins, but as organized crime. This isn't a hypothetical and it isn't rare anymore. In just the last couple of years, card shops have been hit in Los Angeles, Seattle, New York, Texas, up in Canada, and even across the ocean in England. And in the middle of one of those robberies, in a crowded store, someone pointed a gun at a room full of collectors. These cards are small, they're often untraceable, and in some cases they're worth more than the cash in the register. And that combination turned a kid's game into one of the most targeted collectible markets on the planet. This is how it happened. To understand why some card shops now need to have security like a jewelry store, we have to rewind, because for most of their life, these cards were just a fun collectible whose value was mostly nostalgic. But then the world changed. The collecting boom of the early 2020s, fueled by a pandemic that left millions of people at home looking for something to do, sent prices into the stratosphere. People dug out their old binders and realized that they were sitting on a small fortune. And it wasn't just returning fans, the whole thing got amplified by celebrity and influencer money. When figures like Logan Paul started paying millions of dollars for a single card, the public perception flipped. These weren't toys anymore, and a lot of people started treating them like an alternate asset, right along with stocks and gold. And when demand outruns supply that hard, it gets ugly fast. By the spring of 2021, it wasn't just shortages, it was fights, and Target actually pulled Pokemon and sports cards off its shelves nationwide after a dispute over cards in a Wisconsin parking lot ended with a man getting assaulted and someone drawing a gun.
Shoppers at a Brookfield Target were forced to run and hide after a fight this morning in the parking lot.
Police say it all started with a disagreement over trading cards.
8-year-old Mason likes collecting cards, but his mom has trouble finding them.
It's kind of sad that there's a lot of kids that are that enjoy opening the packs and looking at them and seeing what you get. They can't even really do that because you can't find them.
Sherry Rowell was at the Brookfield Target Friday morning, not even looking for cards, but looking for baby clothes with her 6-month-old when everyone started running. Rowell says customers and employees hid in the woods in the back, hearing something about a fight and a gun. Jeff Lemieux at Jeff Sports says the craze all started with the pandemic.
When COVID hit, people were just bored, didn't have anything to do.
Lemieux has limited how many cards people can buy at his store, wanting them to go to collectors and not the people simply looking for a quick buck online.
But here's the thing, high value alone doesn't make it a target. Lots of expensive things almost never get stolen, but what makes Pokemon cards the perfect target was a specific combination of 3 factors. The first is portability and liquidity. A single backpack can hold tens of thousands of dollars in cards, and one high-grade Charizard can be worth more than a car. But unlike gold bars or stacks of cash, it's light, flat, and easy to hide. The second is that they're almost impossible to trace. A stolen ungraded card looks identical to every other copy of that card with no serial number and no tracker, so once it's gone, it just melts into the market. And the third is that the market never closes. Platforms like eBay, TCG Player, and whatnot mean a thief can have stolen cards listed for sale before the owner even knows that they've been robbed. So criminals looked at all of that, the high value, low security, instant resale, and made a cold business decision. Now I want to be straight with you about one thing, because you'll hear people say there's just more card shops now, so of course there's more crime. And yeah, that's true. There are more card shops today. The number of hobby and game stores in this country has been climbing around 5% a year. But more shops is not what's driving this. The engine is the value. More stores just mean more doors for a thief to pick from. It's the price of what's inside that is the trigger. If these cards were still worth what they were 10 years ago, nobody would tunnel through a wall for them, no matter how many shops opened. So what started as petty theft has climbed into something that looks a lot more organized, and the clearest way I can show it to you is to walk it up the ladder, because there are basically 4 levels to this, and each one is worse than the last. At the bottom of the list are scammers, and honestly, some of these are almost creative. Take the taco seasoning case out of Florida. Prosecutors say a man named Keith Wallace walked into Target after Target with boxes of Pokemon cards and a matching stack of 99-cent taco seasoning packets. And at the self-checkout, he'd ring the expensive boxes up using the cheap seasoning barcode, so hundreds of dollars of cards scanned as pocket change. He cost Target more than $10,000 in product across 75 separate thefts, flipped it online for around $40,000, and now faces charges that could add up up to decades in prison. Then there's the fraud that hits collectors directly. Federal prosecutors charged 2 men from Washington in an alleged $2 million scheme where they took low and mid-grade cards, sealed them into counterfeit high-grade cases from a real grading company, and sold them at massively inflated prices. When a buyer got suspicious, they'd feign ignorance, refund them, and then sell the exact same faked card to the next person. In one instance, they sold a fake high-grade 1999 Venusaur to an undercover officer for over $10,000.
He's one of America's most infamous bank robbers. Back in 2014, David Rose interviewed 43-year-old Anthony Curcio, who promised he had learned his lesson and would never go back to prison. Tonight, though, we've learned he is now charged in a new multi-million-dollar crime.
Now, federal investigators say Curcio and an accomplice have scammed a total of $2 million from unknowing buyers who were in the market for ultra-rare Pokémon and sports trading cards.
Up a level, you get the smash and grabs. These are fast, loud, and everywhere. In San Jose, thieves broke into a card shop called Tofu's Trading and grabbed around 35,000 cards. Though in a twist, this tells you how early this was. They missed Paldean Fates, a set that dropped 2 days later. They stole on instinct. The crews that came next knew exactly what they were doing.
A downtown San Jose business owner is sharing footage of an odd break-in. That's one thief crawling on the floor. Surveillance cameras captured 2 others as well. On Wednesday, in the middle of the night, surveillance cameras captured their first break-in.
We saw like 3 people had broken into our side door, which was kind of ridiculous because there's a fridge blocking it. So I don't think it was a targeted attack at all.
Yeah, please. Stay with the side. Coming out with your hands up and arms.
San Jose police did respond, but the store says the 3 suspects were gone in minutes.
I don't think they were in the hobby necessarily because they didn't know what to take.
What they did take was the cash register and more than 35,000 Pokémon cards that range from $1 to a few $100s. A special set of cards that only gets released once a year will come out on Friday, and these robbery suspects missed that memo.
In Rochelle Park, New Jersey, 3 masked people smashed through the front doors of Big Pack Hobby and stripped the high-value cases in 1 minute and 13 seconds, taking $40,000 to $50,000 in cards. In Brentwood, California, a crew vaulted the display cases and cleared $15,000 in Pokemon cards in 39 seconds.
Pokemon cards have become a hot item among thieves, and a trading card store in New Jersey, unfortunately, is the latest target.
Video showing burglars in and out of the store in Rochelle Park in just a matter of seconds, getting away with thousands of dollars worth of these cards.
And in Stockton, 2 different card shops got hit on the very same night, hours apart. The owner said the thief walked right past the board games and everything else and went straight for the Pokemon. And it's not just an American problem. In the UK, 2 brothers pleaded guilty to a string of burglaries hitting card shops in Warrington and Rugby for roughly $95,000 in stock, smashing their way in with a crowbar. The speed is the tell here. These crews aren't browsing. They walk in with a plan. And now we go up another level to the jobs that are genuinely planned, the ones that look less like smash and grabs and more like a bank heist. In February of 2026 in Anaheim, a crew didn't even touch the card shop's front door. They broke into the business next door, an insurance office, and cut a hole straight through the shared wall, coming up inside the card shop from the side and completely bypassing the front door alarms. Once they were in, they had free reign. They cleared out roughly $180,000 in cards and sealed products, and that store had already been hit once in the previous 6 months. The only reason police got a lead is that one of the thieves dropped his own phone climbing through the hole. That tactic of going through a wall is a hallmark of professional burglars, and the fact that they're using it now on card shops tells you how these criminals see these places. They're not shops anymore, they're treasure chests. You see the same patience in Cypress, Texas, where a shop got hit twice in 10 days by the same suspect, someone who clearly cased the place, learned its weak spots, and even knew its restocking schedule. And then there's the top of the ladder, where it stops being about property at all. On January 14th, 2026 in Manhattan, a shop called Poke Court was holding its first big community event, a top holder decorating night. The wholesome kind of thing this hobby is built on, with more than 40 people inside. Around 6:45 in the evening, 3 masked men walked in with a handgun and hammers. They locked the room down, smashed the cases, and left in about 3 minutes with over $100,000 in cards. They pointed a gun in customers' faces, people put their hands up, and the whole thing happened in a packed store in one of the busiest cities on earth. The owner, Courtney Chen, said afterward that getting robbed has almost become a rite of passage for a card shop now, which is a chilling thing to have to normalize. And it wasn't isolated. Investigators investigators believe that the same driver was behind a robbery at a shop in Queens just days earlier. Out in Los Angeles, a collector leaving a store was held up at gunpoint and robbed of a personal collection worth around $300,000. These gangs aren't just targeting stores anymore, they're targeting people.
A thief steals a rare and very valuable collection of Pokémon cards from a man at gunpoint in West LA. LAPD says the card collection is valued at some $200,000 on the low end. The armed robber held up the victim as he left a cards trading store on Olympic Boulevard last night. The victim was not hurt. The suspect fled in a car. Police have reviewed security camera video, but they have not released any other information.
For a while, these were treated as local police matters, but not anymore. In the Pokecourt case, federal agents arrested an alleged getaway driver within about a week, a man named Julio Colina, and they didn't charge him with simple robbery. They charged him under the Hobbs Act, a federal law aimed at robbery that affects interstate commerce, which can carry up to 20 years in prison per count. That is a serious escalation in how law enforcement is treating these crimes. And the arrests are landing elsewhere too. 4 people were arrested in the Burbank burglary. The taco seasoning guy in Florida is facing decades. The man behind the $2 million grading scam was convicted at trial. And the UK brothers are already headed to prison. But catching them is hard, and recovering the cards is harder because they can be fenced online almost instantly and carry no serial numbers to trace. And in most extreme cases, the cards aren't even being resold as a hobby. Over in Spain, police took down a network that was using rare Pokemon cards to launder drug money, dressing a collection up as a legitimate investment portfolio and selling it back into the market as clean income. And down at the small business level, there's a quieter crisis that most people never see, which is insurance. After a shop gets robbed, affordable coverage for this kind of inventory can become almost impossible to find. And for a store running on thin margins, that alone can end up being the thing that ends it. So shops are turning themselves into fortresses, buzzer entry systems, shatterproof glass, high-end safes, cards pulled off the floor entirely. And all of that costs money a local shop doesn't have. And it's not only stores, this reaches your house. A content creator who goes by PokeDean came home after a few days away to find his place completely turned over. Drawers dumped, shelves emptied, but his laptop was still there. His game consoles were still there. The thieves walked past all of it. The only thing that they took were his most expensive Pokemon cards. They knew exactly what they came for. But here's where the hobby has a superpower that the criminals didn't count on. We all shop in the same handful of places. When a store gets hit, the community floods the marketplace within hours, sharing lists and photos of the stolen cards, scanning eBay and the live selling apps, and reporting suspicious listings straight to the police. It's a kind of digital neighborhood watch, and it has genuinely helped to track down stolen cards. This is a story that's still unfolding right now, and if you want to keep up with it and the other strange corners of the hobby we dig into, go ahead and subscribe. And if your local shop has been hit or the collecting boom has touched you somehow, tell me about it in the comments because I read them. And the more we talk this out loud, the harder we make it for these people. So we've ended up at a genuinely bizarre crossroads. A children's card game, a cornerstone of the 90s nostalgia, grew into a multi-billion-dollar market, and in doing that it invited a darker, sometimes violent element that none of us asked for. And as long as a piece of cardboard can be worth more than a car and stay this easy to steal and sell, this isn't going to just stop on its own. So the hobby is going to have to adapt. We'll probably see law enforcement keep treating the organized violent cases as the federal crimes that they are, and we'll see the industry lean harder on technology, better authentication, better tracking, maybe even digital ledgers to prove who really owns a card, because the days of leaving a 5-figure card in a simple glass case are ending. And honestly, the community itself is going to have to stay the first line of defense, because millions of collectors all watching the same marketplace is a powerful thing. But I don't want the takeaway here to be fear. The takeaway is care. Photograph your collection, document it, insure the big stuff, and don't flash your grails to strangers. Support the shops that are taking this seriously because they're fighting to keep this a place where a kid can still learn the game and an adult can still geek out on a Wednesday night. Courtney Chin, after 3 minutes with a gun in her store, said it better than I can. No card is worth losing their lives over. And she's right. These are pieces of cardboard. Incredible, nostalgic, valuable pieces of cardboard, but not one of them is worth getting someone hurt. Protect your collection, look out for each other, and let's keep this whole thing worth protecting.